Welcome back, guys. This week we're talking about discipline as it relates with your New Year's resolution. Yeah, it's New Year's this week, and you're probably going to make a resolution, and you're probably going to fail because you don't have enough discipline. That's what you think, at least. You think that discipline is this thing that you need more of to follow through on your New Year's resolution, but that's not true. That is a representative of an incorrect way of looking at our psychology. That's not how it works at all. You have enough discipline. You were born with all the discipline you will ever need, ever. The problem is there's something covering up the discipline. There's something in your psyche keeping the discipline from working properly, from functioning well, and that something is anxiety. So if you don't follow through on your resolution, you're probably because you procrastinate, right? Probably do that a lot. You'll rationalize, oh, it's not that big deal. You'll procrastinate, then rationalize the procrastination. Then you'll make excuses about the rationalization, about your procrastination. There's just all these layers of dysfunction, not getting anything done. And another thing you'll probably do, which a lot of guys do, is they'll just get apathetic. Oh, it's not. Oh, why did I make that goal anyways? That's not a very realistic goal. I was on way too much Adderall when I made that goal. Never make a goal on Adderall, unless you're going to take Adderall all the time. But this is what happens. All these things, but what are these? These are all symptoms. These are all manifestations of anxiety. You have plenty of discipline, but the anxiety covers it up. It keeps it from functioning. You don't need more discipline. You need to let the discipline out by managing the anxiety. We know how to do that, right? Go check out my anxiety lectures. Anxiety comes in, or a threat comes in, we feel it as anxiety. But if we cannot confront the threat in a correct way, by making our situation better, by making other people's situation better in a socially constructive way, if we don't have the psychological wherewithal to do that, then we avoid it. The anxiety becomes unconscious. And these are all examples of helplessness. Partially conscious, partially unconscious. We kind of feel the anxiety, but we don't really know what to do with it. And we're just kind of, whatever. The sound you make when you procrastinate, rationalize, make excuses, or have apathy? It's a ugh. Ugh. That's what it sounds like. Ugh. What's the point? That's how you know you're being helpless. You're being powerless with your anxiety. Manage the anxiety in the correct way, and you'll have all the discipline you'll ever need. A great Christmas story, both a book and movie. I recommend the 1932 4.5-hour version, is Les Miserables, that really encapsulates the importance of, look, you don't have discipline unless you really learn to manage your anxiety. And it is when we're getting to it, but it's during the Champmathieu affair, where Jean Valjean, now he's no longer Jean Valjean, he's posing as the mayor of that town. He started that factory. He's a great benefactor of that town, hiding, he's really Jean Valjean, hiding as the mayor. And he gets word that some guy is being convicted of being Jean Valjean, this escaped convict. So what is Jean Valjean posing as the mayor to do? Is he to just say, well, if I go and I turn myself in, then I can't run the factory, I can't be the mayor of this town, I can't be a great benefactor. But then this innocent man who can't defend himself goes to jail. Great part of Les Miserables, it's the tempest in the brain, where Jean Valjean's going through, what do? I owe my upright life to the bishop who saved me, so to speak. But also, now I'm saving this town. Eventually he does go, and he confronts the trial. Champmathieu, who's being falsely accused of being Jean Valjean. Champmathieu's not smart enough really to defend himself. Jean Valjean goes and says, I am Jean Valjean, this is not Jean Valjean. And he gets arrested. Javert's there, he gets arrested. Jumps off the Orion, escapes again, but now everybody thinks he's dead. But now, once he's confronted who he was, once he saved that innocent man from being accused of being him, he no longer has anxiety. Now he has discipline. Now he can truly be generative. He thought he was being generative when he was mayor of the town. He sort of was. But he wasn't generative until he took care of Cosette. And that's what makes Les Miserables a Christmas story, is because he saves Cosette on Christmas when she's trying to carry the pail of water back, too heavy for her. Figures out, oh, this is Fantine's daughter. I promised Fantine I was going to take care of her daughter. I was going to find her daughter, take care of her. Turns out it's this Cosette. Discipline. Jean Valjean now has the structure through which he can be generative. That's another way of saying he now has the discipline through which he can give to the next generation. But of course, the structure isn't outside. He created a structure within by managing his emotions well, most notably by confronting his anxiety, especially around going back to the Champmathieu trial and turning himself in, saying, this is not Jean Valjean. I am Jean Valjean. And, there's real neurological evidence for this. This isn't, I know I show you guys these diagrams. They're not really, I know they're the diagrams of your mind, not your brain, right? They're a tesseract into how we can understand our psychology. But on a psychological level, this is what happens. We have our prefrontal cortex here. This doesn't really look like that, right? But let's just draw it like that for now. We have our amygdala here. And we have our hippocampus here. Hippocampus, important for memory processing. The amygdala, fear, a lot of emotional responses, not just fear, but I would say mainly fear, is done through the amygdala. And then we have our prefrontal cortex, our executive function, our emotional control. And you know what you're doing when you're confronting the threats in your life. Exactly what you're doing is you're not getting rid of the amygdala. You're not quelling it in any sort of way. You are connecting it with your executive function, with your prefrontal cortex. You are making the fear conscious. That is what we are doing when we are in group, bringing the unconscious up, listening, talking about what's going on, creating honest, secure attachments with other people, being honest about who we are, with other people looking at us, and talking to our TA, talking to our father, talking to our mother. It's all a way of integrating the prefrontal cortex with the amygdala. And the hippocampus is involved too. It's not that important though. But yeah, most of the connection you're doing is there between your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. And now, without your amygdala firing, without your prefrontal cortex, that would be this. This is your amygdala rationalizing, oh, it's no big deal, that's the fear. Now you're looking at what's coming in, the threats that you're avoiding one by one, and what you're doing on a neurological level is connecting your executive function with your fear response. Not to get rid of the fear response, but again, just to bring awareness to it. That's all we need. We're not trying to get rid of anxiety. We're just becoming aware of it. We're creating a better relationship with it, as represented by creating better relationships with people, at least to start. And yeah, so you're built with all the discipline you'll ever need. Think about it. Think about a 7, 8, or 9-year-old who's had a relatively good upbringing up until that point. They don't need to be yelled at by their parents to be more disciplined. If anything, they need to be yelled at by their parents to settle down. An 8-year-old kid who's into football, he will go out and kick and throw a football around all day. Into painting, kids will paint all day. Maybe not kids so much, but teenagers. Funny, right after kids hit puberty, then they will play their guitar all day. The discipline is there, but what happened is, life wore you out. The weight of the world on your shoulders, you didn't know how to deal with it, and then you start to do this, procrastinate, rationalize excuses, and apathy. But what is the weight of the world on your shoulders? How do we diagram that psychologically? The threats come in, and you imagine them at first. They come in one by one, a slow trickle, but maybe something happens. You don't have the psychological wherewithal to manage, and you start avoiding. You start avoiding the threats. Consciously at first, but you avoid the threats consciously enough, you start to avoid them unconsciously. Then you wake up 5 years later, you're trying to make a New Year's resolution. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to, do this much homework every day. And you'll find that you can't do it. And then you'll go find somebody on YouTube that says, oh, what you need is more discipline. You need to stay motivated. That's not what you need. You need to go in to your mind. First, understand the test threat going into your mind, figuring out what is at the cause of discipline. What's really going on when you don't have discipline. Manage that, and the discipline will take care of itself. Thank you for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe. More importantly, tell a friend. More importantly, even that, manage your anxiety. And now when you make a New Year's resolution, you don't have to make it happen. You'll manage your anxiety, and you will simply watch it happen.